We've done their 9 to 5 rallies, but now it's 6 o'clock.
Welcome to Zero Credibility. It's me and Justin. Let's get it. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of things been happening in the world. Everything's been happening except Brexit and the US-China trade talks. So we'll leave that on for next time.
It's so serious. Everything's so serious nowadays.
I know. Actually, this topic, this actually whole episode is like pretty like serious, like, you know, topics that we're going to talk about. Except, okay, I better not even say. I was about to say except women in Hollywood. Holy shit. Anyways,
tell us your real feelings, man, about women in Hollywood.
That was actually, I meant to be serious. I'm so sorry. Anyways, let's start with the Facebook involvement in the New Zealand shooting. So, long story short, the shooting in New Zealand, the Christchurch mosque massacre, was live streamed on multiple platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, and, you know, a lot of other.
I mean, it was live streamed on Facebook. I don't think it was live streamed on multiple platforms. It was live streamed on Facebook.
It was live streamed on Facebook, but it made its way to YouTube, and basically all these companies are being scrutinized for not taking it down fast enough, or they're being accused of being a hub for all these violent videos to be spread, and so it's a very interesting topic. And today, all these big tech companies, especially Facebook, which have been in and out of in and out of having Senate hearings, with the Senate in terms of privacy, data privacy, election meddling, and so on. You can name it. Facebook has been one of the main topics of this year and last year for the Senate in terms of like how should we regulate these big tech companies. And so right after the shooting, Jacinta Ardern basically wanted answers from Facebook, like asking them like, why haven't you taken this down fast enough? Why are these videos still popping up on Facebook? Why does it take so long for these videos to be taken down? And like what I personally think is, I don't think Facebook are like going like, we want these shooting videos to be promoted, but I just think it's not easy to manage stuff like live streaming, because it's live streaming. You don't know what's going to happen, right? It's like me live streaming. I could be like live streaming to a bunch of people, and suddenly out of nowhere I just start shooting people, right? So I mean I think that should be like a fair pushback from the Facebook side. But what's your take on this whole,
I mean, there's a couple of things which I think are in this issue of the tech companies. I think there's a couple of things that you touched on. One was the responsibility for spreading information or conduct or whatever that is deemed to be unacceptable. That's one. And the other one is privacy. And I think those are two very separate issues, interlinked but separate. So if you want to talk about the first one, around the live streaming and the spreading of misinformation and stuff like that, I think that I sympathize with Facebook a bit, and things like YouTube and stuff like that. Because you're right, if you do live stream something, it's very hard. How do you regulate that? The definition of live stream is that it's live, so you can't really control what is being shown, right? And so when something gets shown, even if you put it on 10-second delay or whatever, like they do for live shows on TV, like the Oscars and all that. Like, let's say an awards show, right? The thing is, the problem is like the Oscars is that there's a script, right? And there's a plan of how the show is going to go, so you know how things are going to go. So on a 10-second delay, it's primarily to like bleep out curse words or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. When some random person like yourself live stream something, there's no script. The person that's regulating does not know what is going to happen.
Exactly.
So it's very difficult. I can understand the difficulty in doing that. right? Also, I think there is a bit of a disconnect in the sense that, I think a lot of young people these days understand that once something goes up on the internet, it can never be erased,
Yeah.
right? Like it's almost impossible to erase
Yeah.
because someone's gonna take a copy of it, upload it somewhere else, and it'll just keep happening.
Yeah.
So
That is like something super, super serious. Because I was listening to a podcast about, Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast with Tim Pool and a woman who works for Twitter that regulates all these things. And they were having a discussion, and Jack Dorsey basically said, yeah, everyone says that once it's on the internet, you can't like delete it. But he's saying that's kind of not true unless it's been screenshotted by someone, which is done to a lot of people around the world. But things can get deleted. But anyways, continue. But in general, they don't.
I would love to know the context in which he said that, because I think he'd be one of those that would be very like things cannot get deleted.
No. He was talking about like tweets and stuff. Like it was a very interesting topic. It was about how like he was trying to create he said the future there's going to be like these information on the internet is going to be created by blockchain technology, so people can tell what's real and what's not in terms of like fake news, because there's a lot of fake people generate fake tweets, and sometimes people like the media would follow these fake tweets and stuff. So he's saying like new technology will come in, such as the blockchain, that will prevent all these fake news coming out, which I found like, oh shit, this is pretty interesting. But don't worry, I'll keep bringing up this interview because I was listening to it yesterday. And
so within what context of that does he say things can get deleted off the internet?
He was saying that I can't remember. He was talking about how they were talking about deleting tweets or like deleting people from the face of Twitter, like. And
I'm sure you can delete your tweets, plenty of people have done that. But how many times have we seen like
seen it resurface?
Deleted tweets like, oh, this person has deleted the tweet, but here's a screenshot of it, or here's what they said, or something like that.
I know.
Things can never be truly deleted off the internet.
I know, but like, do you think that they'll find my racist ass tweets? I'm just kidding. I don't have any, but like, if
I know all your tweets are just against women, but yeah.
Bro, I got that.
No, but yeah, no, I mean like things can never be.
Let me load the clip.
Especially controversial things can never be fully erased from the internet. Like they will always be out there.
Yeah, okay, I understand that, but like, so what you're trying to say is, if I delete everything, all my like stuff, material on the internet, it's actually somewhere hiding in the interwebs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It actually is. I'm not even kidding. It actually is. Off the top of my head, I can think of like somewhere it might be. It might be in the database of the Wayback Machine. It might be in like a crawler that crawls through all of Twitter and picks up every photo that's ever posted to Twitter or something like that. Like these things happen, and just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Like nothing can truly be deleted off the internet.
Yes. Okay. True. But anyways, continue. Let's talk about the shooting thing. So yeah.
So like to come back to the point, I feel a bit of sympathy for Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, for all the social media companies in terms of like, they can delete all they want, but a lot of the times it's so hard to keep up with the millions and of things that are being put up every day, not even every day, every minute, So in that sense, I find it a bit, just a bit hard. Like when Jacinda Ardern comes out and says like, oh, like why aren't these companies doing better to delete the videos, the archive videos of the shooting? It's like, I'm sure they're trying to.
Yeah,
but it's just very hard. Like when they're coming from everywhere, from every source.
Yeah, I think it's unfair on them. It's a bit unfair on them. But like sometimes I don't know whether it's like you need to say it because you're prime minister, but like it's not like you could say Facebook is doing a good job, right? So
I
Do you
mean,
think she did it out of necessity? That's what I'm kind of also want to get at.
I mean,
Like,
what do you
she
mean Facebook's not doing a good job in terms of like the video on Facebook? I can know personally, I haven't seen the video.
I haven't seen the
Like,
video.
I
No,
haven't
no,
seen it on my
no.
newsfeed or anything.
I know, but then she was out there saying that Facebook needs to do a better job, and I'm like, I haven't even seen the video on Facebook, so you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So
so was she wrong to say that?
I don't know if she was wrong. Like, like I said, I do agree. Sometimes you have to say things for political effect and all that sort of stuff. I also do think that sometimes, even though Jacinda Ardern is not old, but it's hard for a different generation to understand that it's not, you can't just, it's not so easy to just go and delete stuff.
True.
It's not like,
Yeah.
it's not so easy. There's so many people uploading so much stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know if it's wrong to say that, but it was definitely, I think, a bit misinformed.
Okay. No, I agree with you, and I think it's time. Let's move on to the next interlinked, but not directly. Like directly. What was the word? The same. Directly the same. Let's talk about privacy. Data privacy. So Facebook recently came out and said that they're gonna, like, for example, the conversations that I have between you, the messages I have between you, it will be encrypted from now on. So these companies, these ad companies can't access, that specific information. However, I read a very interesting article on the Financial Times saying that doesn't mean sponsors, all these like sponsorship companies or marketing companies won't get the information. They just won't get the direct like information. They'll get metadata, which was explained to me by my coworker David as a mesh of a lot of data put together and arranged in a way to explain stuff to you. And so that's how they're gonna sell data. I'm wrong. I'm probably very wrong on this.
I'm sure your colleague David did a better job explaining than you just did. But yeah,
I did. Yeah. He definitely did. And so they're basically they're still selling data to. What I'm basically trying to get at is that they're basically still selling data to these marketing companies, just in a different way. And what do you think about that?
I mean, I think privacy in the context of today's technology, I think is a topic that is spoken about for a long time. And I think it first came to real public consciousness many years ago now with Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Where it was leaked that essentially the government was spying on its people.
Yeah.
I think that amongst all the tech companies, Facebook has the most of a credibility issue in terms of they're the social media, or they're the tech company where people distrust the most.
Yep.
Because people feel like their privacy is constantly being violated by Facebook and the data that it mines. You've got cases of people who have never had a Facebook account in their lives, yet Facebook knows a lot about them. They know where they work, they know their name, they know their age, they know their birthday, they know their phone number, and that's just through mining data from their friends.
They use, yeah. No. It's, yeah, that too.
Yeah, from their friends and from and from conversations through Facebook Messenger and stuff like that, talking about people who don't even have a Facebook account. So, it's one of those things where the tech company with the biggest credibility gap is definitely Facebook. So it's now become a PR issue for them. And that's why they came out a few weeks ago with a big statement saying the future of Facebook is privacy. I think a lot of people are very skeptical about that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's one of those things, right, where people say, nothing is ever truly free, right? If you use something for free, it means that you are the product. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, I don't know, it's difficult. It's difficult. I do think that there needs to be some form of regulation around it. But the problem is that the people that want to regulate it, I think, don't know enough about the issue.
Yeah, Elizabeth wants to break up Facebook, and she wants a wealth tax, basically a 70% tax of all, like, for like anyone who earns more than a few $billion or something like that. It's like, whoa, it's crazy. But I don't know how you're gonna regulate this though. What?
I mean, there are definitely ways to regulate it. There are definitely ways to regulate it, right? But the thing is, in order to do proper regulation, you need people who understand, how the systems work, and how the whole sort of architecture of it. And I think, it's one of those things where it is. It also becomes one of those things where, like, there's a bit of a credibility gap with the government, right? Because, okay, so the government wants to regulate it, but let's not forget, the government are also very interested in this information.
Yeah, of course.
So, as shown by the Snowden stuff, so it becomes a case of, like, if the government are the watchman, who watches the watchman?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a very difficult topic. And by the way, I'm using Facebook as an example, but Facebook is definitely not the only example. Google is in there as well. Twitter's in there as well. Even like privacy darling Apple is in there as well. It's all these tech companies. So there needs to be better framework in terms of protecting user privacy. I completely agree. And yeah, I would support regulation around that because I actually am a bit of a privacy guy. So yeah.
Yeah. Are you hiding some deep dark secrets on there?
Yeah. I'm hiding the fact that I'm secretly a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
They accept Asians now?
Yeah, well, because on the internet no one knows if you're Asian or white, right? So yeah.
Oh, fair enough. You're having like some like new Michael Jackson, new Michael Jackson syndrome.
I mean, I just talk about things that white people like. I talk about
hunting and shit.
Yeah, I talk about hunting. Talk about
yes.
I talk about the latest Mumford and Son single.
Yeah. Do you love your flannel shirts as well, right?
Yeah, man. Talk about that Bruce Springsteen concert I went to last time. All that stuff that white people love, man. And then they don't question it. They're like, oh yeah, this guy is a white guy.
Better than the Beatles. All right. Anyways, okay. I mean, I think we're on the same page in that regard. I think user privacy is a very interesting topic to get into. I was listening to that Joe Rogan podcast episode with Tim Pool, who's an investigative journalist of some sort, and who's basically pushing back, who's pressing Twitter really hard on being inconsistent and really liberal leaning in their banning policies. That was a very great episode. So
this is actually another topic which I'm quite interested in, actually, in the sense that a lot of times these days, a lot of voices are heard through social media, right?
Yep.
A lot of voices are no longer, in the old days, a lot of voices used to be heard through newspapers, right? But nowadays, a lot more voices get heard, and a lot of voices are heard through social media. Now, in the past year or so, you've got a lot of companies. You got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got YouTube. Start banning quote unquote hate speech sources, right? Mm-hmm. But then a lot of the times it becomes a case of like, where's the line between hate speech and freedom of speech, right?
Yeah. That was
that line becomes very interesting because it's sort of within the domain of YouTube or within the domain of Twitter. It's become who is the judge of that line?
Yeah.
And by banning all these things, the judge of that line becomes the company, right?
Yes.
So then it becomes a case of like, why is Twitter, or whoever's leading Twitter, why are they being entrusted with judging what is right and what is wrong? Like, why are we leaving these questions in the hands of these tech companies?
Yeah.
Right.
Very
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So it. No, I'm not saying that. I support hate speech or whatever. I'm not.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that why are these companies the judge of what it is or what is or what isn't? Right. I think we spoke about this in one of the earlier podcasts. I can't remember exactly the topic, but for example, someone like Alex Jones is banned on on all platforms now, right?
Like, yeah,
on Twitter, on YouTube, and all that. And things I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. I think he's a freaking idiot.
He's crazy. Dude. He's crazy.
But is it enough that? I mean, is he? Should he be banned from these platforms?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one.
And by the way, I'm not saying this question rhetorically as though the answer is supposed to be no, we shouldn't.
No,
the fact of the matter is, I don't know whether he should. I don't know if he should. Right? Because while one thing is, I understand that for legitimate hate speech, a lot of power from hate speech comes from the fact that it can be, that when a lot of people buy into it, it becomes a real movement, right? Like that's what happened with like the Nazis in Germany, right? And the thing is that if you want to try to limit the platforms in which these messages can spread.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, why are these guys the judges of that? Who entrusted these people, these tech companies, to be the judges of that?
Yeah, I might be obviously I might just be gullible, but from watching the interview, Jack Dorsey and his partners started up Twitter with just an intention of just like letting everyone have a say, and they just they magically just stumbled on making a $1 trillion company, and
it's not a $1 trillion company.
$1 billion company. Let's see.
Probably.
Let's see. Twitter market cap. Okay. Where's the market cap? Anyways, yeah, so I think you're probably right, but they don't say it's market cap. What do you think is the market cap? I'm on Yahoo.
I could see it being a few $billion.
$5 billion. Yeah, no, 25 billion market cap. So, I think what sometimes how you just create an app and suddenly you're made to have to deal with all these new regulations, which like no one really understands how to do it. Like for example, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, I bet you he never foresee the day he was gonna end up having all this data mining and all this nonsense. So it's.
I mean, you wouldn't foresee it at the very start, but at some point you would, I think.
Yeah, but like, let's just say you started it. Like, what would you be like on it, like saying, "Oh shit, like I already know what to do." I think that it seems like from the interview that they're trying to figure out how to, handle this and.
No, you're right, and it's a new world, right? Because this is the new way that people communicate, right?
Yeah, like people don't understand what this technology is doing to us. There's always all these like new studies saying, "Oh, we're too wired all the time." Kids are getting depressed because of Twitter, Facebook, and all this. All this is so new to us. We're not wired for this. We're struggling to comprehend what this technology actually can do. So we're slowly figuring it out. Like we always discuss when it comes to fake news. Eventually we'll get used to it and we'll get better at identifying what's nonsense and what's not. So I think
that's what I believe. Yeah,
that's what I believe as well. I think we're at the stage of transition. I mean, we're always at a stage of transition. We're always evolving, and we just get better at dealing with stuff like this. And I feel that's what Twitter is trying to get at. So that podcast is episode, that Joe Rogan podcast episode, I thought was a very powerful episode because it basically. you heard it from the horse's mouth themselves that they admitted. Jack Dorsey said, yeah, we probably do, look, moderate the amount of we do moderate the content from a more liberal bias. It came from their mouths that they said that, and they're trying their best to handle this and deal with this technology. He said it himself that the goal of Twitter was to include everyone, but that they totally go against that when they ban certain people, and from that episode you understood that they started banning people wrongly as well, people who don't really deserve it, people who were just telling a joke. So it's trying to, what that episode showed me was that it's near impossible to get context of every speech that's said on these platforms, and it's near impossible to regulate this. It's very hard to police speech, and without knowing the context. Like sometimes me and you joke off camera, we say all this real like saucy ass spicy shit.
I don't say anything.
It's a joke.
I don't say anything.
Don't make me draw the receipts, okay? Don't make me.
I don't say anything.
Okay, fine.
Well, I'm glad it took you this episode of a Joe Rogan podcast to bring up these issues for you. But the fact of the matter is, I think there's also, we mustn't forget that these companies, right? Twitter, Facebook, Google, all that. They do. I think they've all gotten big enough and come to a point where there's a level of social responsibility that they need to uphold.
I'm just saying that they're trying.
But we mustn't forget the fact that whatever they do, right, will primarily work in the best interest of their shareholders. Right? The reason that Facebook mines all this data about its users, right, is not because they want to. It's because they make money through it.
Yeah.
Right?
They sell this data to all these marketing companies, all these data mining companies. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever they do will always be in the interest of shareholders, and as it should be, because as a company you have a fiduciary duty, and the board has a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to do things that are in the best interest of maximizing shareholder value.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I support that. So the fact of the matter is that regulation has to come from an external source in order to induce and incentivize the companies to do the right thing from a social responsibility perspective, and that has to come from government. It can't be solely private driven. It has to come from government.
That being said, how do you know the government can't impose a propaganda through these mediums?
And that's the thing. Like, you're right, it can, but that's the reason that when government imposes regulation, it has to go through multiple levels of votes and approval.
Yeah.
Right, like it has to become laws, unless it's done, I guess, through things like the FCC and stuff like that. But even then, I think regulations that come through FCC and stuff have to be voted on, right?
Yeah.
So, like that's a great question, But yeah, like I said, that's the reason the system is in place in order to, how laws are passed, how bills are passed, how regulation is passed, is through, in the US, it goes through it's got to be tabled at the House, it's got to go to the House, then it's got to be debated, it goes through Congress before it becomes law.
Yeah.
And there are two parties on, in the US at least, there are two parties who will always work in the best interest of their parties, which is the two opposing voices.
Yeah. I just think it's a real, these mediums, these platforms are a real powerful tool, Like, I like to think that it's the new Bible. It's essentially the new gospel, right? Like, these tools could be used as the new gospel or the new Bible, if you think about it, right? You got to talk to billions of people, and if you amass a crazy-ass following, you could influence these people through these platforms. And these platforms could be moderated by, governments, or, it could be meddled by, other governments on, different elections. This is a powerful tool. So, giving it, like you said, being voted in Congress. What if like the wrong team wins and they have hold of this? I think this is a very tough.
What do you mean by the wrong team? Like,
like what if like freaking like. What if like, okay, let's just say the government moderates. Let's just say the government moderates it, right?
no. I think you're missing the idea. The government is not going to moderate it. The government is not going to have some guy that sits there on the computer looking at every tweet that gets posted and clicking yes or no. That's not government regulation.
But they'll make a
Right.
law. They'll make laws that these regulators have to abide by, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. And those laws might be things like, if there is a tweet, that is that's clearly hateful or whatever that may be, whatever that line is, you will be held financially responsible, or you will be held, you'll be fined X amount or something like that. Or it might be, this person who made this tweet might be, it could be criminal or something like that. Now, I'm not saying that that's the best way. I don't think that's the best way, actually. But yeah, like I think you're misunderstanding. Like it's not the government will not sit there and moderate. They won't sit there like Elizabeth Warren's not going to sit on a computer looking at every picture that gets posted on Facebook saying, "Oh yeah, this is good, this is not good."
Yeah, no. For me, I'm just trying to understand, like, this platform, like how powerful it actually is, and like how
I think everyone understands how powerful it can be.
Yeah,
right? And that's why I said, like, because these platforms become so big and so large and so pervasive, that they have a social responsibility now, and that social responsibility has to be incentivized and encouraged by the government. Because if you leave these companies to do it alone, they won't.
I think that's right. Yeah, social responsibility has been encouraged by the government. Yeah. No, I think but it's like, how are you gonna do it though? Like how are you gonna moderate the speech? How do you know what's like hateful and what's not hateful?
See so that's the thing, right? So then it becomes a case. Then it becomes a question for people who are much smarter than you and me, in order to determine that line, right? Because as much as people want to say, First Amendment rights means there's freedom of speech, there are hate speech laws in the US. There are hate speech laws around the world. So at some point, that debate, at some point, that debate.
Hate speech laws in the US.
So at some point, that debate has happened in the past, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, that debate has to happen again.
But what hate speech laws are there in the US?
Just Google it, man. The hate. I'm definitely
I know
sure
that
hate speech.
I know the hate speech laws in Europe, but I don't think the hate speech laws in the hate speech laws in Canada. But I don't think the hate speech laws in the US. I might be wrong, but does not have hate speech laws.
Does not have hate speech laws.
Yeah, but
maybe I'm confusing it with hate crime, but
there's definitely hate crime laws. Yes, there's definitely hate crime. Yeah. But there are
whatever
like
the case. So whatever the case, right? This conversation needs to happen, right? And when it does, which I think it probably will happen, I imagine that the Supreme Court will probably be involved at some point.
Yeah.
Because, something will be proposed, it'll be rejected multiple times by both sides, something will finally go through, and then the people who disagree with it will bring it to the Supreme Court, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
but it has to happen.
Oh man, there's this great quote about, like you say we'll get these laws will get rejected a few times, and before something happens. And there's a very good quote about this. It's a quote on justice. It's by Sun Tzu. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but wheels of justice grind slow, but grinds fine. So yeah, that applied to what you said just now. But anyways, yeah. So I think this is a funny topic. But like I follow Jordan Peterson, and he's a big proponent of freedom of speech. Not because he wants you to, like, you know, to say what the fuck you want and everything you say is right. What he's trying to get at is like, once government compels your speech, they're compelling your sovereignty to think. And he's saying not what you think is always right, but like the government encroaching on your freedom to, you know, think wrongly or rightly is a encroachment onto your freedom as being a human. That's what he kind of like. That's one of his principles.
Yeah,
So,
and I agree with that. And
yeah,
by and large, I agree with that. But I do think there's a way to regulate which does not necessarily have to be, you know, what you're saying is like forcing you to think a certain way.
No, I agree with you.
And also Jordan Peterson, I have to say, I agree with some of his points, but I disagree with a lot of his points as well.
Like which ones?
Like the fact.
Let's not get into this like whole. Let's go one. Let's pick one. The big one.
Like the fact that he thinks that sexism does not exist.
What?
The fact that he thinks that sexism does not exist.
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
no, he plays it down as not a big like, you know, this is a magnitude thing, but I kind of agree with you. He plays down the magnitude of it. He's not saying it like doesn't exist at all. He knows it doesn't exist, but he attributes it to, you know, like men and women usually wanting different things. Like, but anyways, let's not get into that. I agree with you. Okay, I agree with you. I know what you're getting at.
And I think, and this is just a unfounded view, but he's one of those guys who, you know, he has these views. I think he previously had these views, and then he expresses these views, right? And then he found that he's had a base of support, and then he's gotten a bit arrogant, and he's gotten a bit more extreme with his views as time goes on, by being emboldened by this base.
I know now he has, like, the hype of him has quieted down.
I mean, he still has a strong support base, and I think, yeah, like I said, he's one of those guys who maybe in the past has felt, you know, I have valid opinions, but no one's listening to my opinions. And then now he's found this base, right? And he's like, all right, now I can say whatever the hell I want. Like, he's gone a bit arrogant because he suddenly has a base of support, and it's made his views a bit more extreme than possibly what they were previously.
I think it's the same. I've listened to videos from the past, and now it's the same. The only difference is now he uses Twitter, and he's saying that he thinks Twitter is a bad medium. But okay, but like, I think the book he wrote was really good. Politically, like, everyone should just turn off the noise, because I don't think he's in it for the political space. I personally think it's more of like he's just trying to sell books, right? Like, he's just trying to sell books.
Yeah, and let's face it, like, he's a little freaking nerd that can't really speak that well. And yeah, like I said, I think it's just got a bit arrogant.
Anyways, my point is, I think he's just trying to sell books. Like Justin said, I agree with the point that he's just basically, you know, going to his base to talk to his base. But I'm not saying he's close to his base, and I'm not saying that you're saying that too. But I think that book, the latest book of his, it's a good book. It's a good book in the sense where it tells you, you know, you should, you know, take up responsibility and be accountable for your responsibility. That's obviously more to it, but I'm just trying to say.
No, but see, like, views like that, right? I can support views like that. I can support very much views like that.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on from that. Maybe, do you think, I actually, when you were explaining the bit about how, like, you know, yeah, you understand that people should have the freedom to think whatever and say whatever, but it comes to a point, you know, we need to draw a line. And I came up with a real, like, cheesy ass political marketing line. Maybe the way to regulate is to educate. And maybe people will be less racist if we educate them, or like people will be less of assholes if you educate them or something of some sort. I don't know, maybe, but there'll always be people like saying real like flagrant spicy ass shit, right?
I mean, I think what we're seeing today, right, is that it is not necessarily the people who are uneducated who are racist.
Yeah. Sometimes
I mean, definitely there are people who are uneducated who are racist, or who are discriminatory or whatever, right? Or who hate Muslims or whatever. Definitely there are uneducated people, but for them there's a simple excuse, which is we are uneducated. But I think more and more these days you're seeing more and more quote unquote educated people having these opinions. And I think that in itself says a lot, because you would assume that there comes a level of critical thinking that comes with their views. And it's very easy to discount these people as being stupid or uninformed or whatever, because they're not, yet they still have these views. So where do these views come from, and what is the logic behind these views? It's important to understand.
Yep. Yeah. No. Then.
Whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think like whether we agree or disagree with speech in general, like I think we both agree that that should you should be able to, people point if you disagree with should still be on display, but there's obviously a line when you say real like when you try to incite hate, which you kind of explained to me and told put me onto it, that hate speech is essentially what they're trying to do. It's not that you're trying to say something like mean to someone. It's more of like when you're trying to incite violence, you're trying to stoke up you're trying to stoke up. It's like basically to do every freaking day. They say, "Oh, we have to kill these white people," and right, exactly that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's one of those things that's very difficult, because a lot of it has to do with intention, and it's very hard to judge intent based purely on words.
Dude, we've been talking about this for like 3 years. Every now and then we have this topic, like what's the intent? But it's almost near impossible to enforce this, right? Like to police and to discover what the real intent was, right? It's like it takes process, and it takes a lot of time. And
and it's one of those things where I don't think you can judge intent purely on someone saying one sentence.
Exactly. So it has to be
I think, for example, if you have like this Christchurch shooter guy, right? I think you can judge his intent because he wrote like 100-page manifesto, because he has a history of posting things to social media where he criticizes Muslims, where he says that they are of a lower class or whatever it is. Like I think there's a body of evidence which supports his negative intent.
Yeah.
But if you were just to say, if one person on the street, let's say on Friday night, on Friday night you have a few drinks and you bump into a person on the street, and that guy goes, "Oh, like you slanty-eyed piece of shit" or something. Like, does that mean that guy's racist? I don't know. Like I think would I say that guy's racist based off the fact that he just said one line?
No, I just think he wants to hurt my feelings, and he went for the low blow.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where.
But you know what?
Intent is very hard to judge.
That guy is trash. But yeah, no, I agree with you. So what Jordan? Okay, like bringing up Jordan Peterson that again, his piece on free speech is that he thinks that he also believes it's a real complicated issue, but his kickback is that people should be able. I mean, he believes in free speech vehemently, and that he believes that an educated, like not an educated, people will be able to reject what is like people are able to reject these like messages put into the cloud, such as like if someone told you, Justin, that white people, yellow people are the most superior. I don't think you would think that way.
I while I admire that the optimism there, I think history has proven that to not be true, right?
No. Yes, agreed. Like you could bring up like the Nazi Germany and so on, but it's very hard. I think I better not get into this. I have to really know every single point locked down. But it was something along the lines of. But even then in Nazi Germany, there were you couldn't say certain shit about the Führer. If not, you get nused. You get like bodied as well. But I think I have to read into this a little more before I get unpack this shit. But
there's a very interesting. All right, before we close out this topic, because we've probably gone too long there. There's a very interesting thought on it, and it is by so Jordan Peterson is someone I don't fully buy into his ideas, and it's not a person I particularly like, although I don't discount some of his ideas and I agree with some of them. Someone who I do like, who I think has some good points, is Stephen Fry. And although I know many people know Stephen Fry as a comedian and an actor, he's actually quite a good philosopher, and he's quite well-spoken, well thought out. And he is on the side of, we shouldn't censor free speech and all that stuff. And his argument is not because we should let the people decide or blah, blah, blah. His argument is that because, it is about PC culture, where he says, being politically correct is not the answer. Because he thinks that in order to be inclusive and in order to get people to respect one another more and all that, he says that he doesn't think political correctness works. So he himself is a liberal, right? He's all about inclusiveness, making people feel comfortable, all that sort of stuff. But his argument is that if we want to achieve that, political correctness is not the right way to go, because it doesn't work. And in his eyes, the way things are happening now, it's showing that it doesn't work. So there must be another way.
Yeah.
And I can respect that for you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That was actually a very good there was a good debate episode where Stephen Fry and John Peterson were on one side. They were debating.
That's the same one that we've seen. Yeah. So they're on the same side. But I think Stephen Fry presented his argument so much better and so much more logically. Yeah.
No, I just had it formulated what John Peterson was trying to say. But fuck. Okay, never mind. Let's not do this. Let's just move on. If not, we're just gonna stay in like no man's land. But both of them basically are pro free speech, and they gave, like you said, maybe Stephen Fry gave a very good take on it. And Stephen Fry is basically, his philosophy is based on the Enlightenment philosophy, the philosophy of enlightenment. Yep.
Sure.
Okay. Anyways, fine. Okay, let's just move on. Let's just do one more topic because I have to bounce for lunch. Shall we do the One Nation one?
Oh, screw One Nation, man. They're idiots.
Yeah, let's not give them that shine. Let's talk about empowering women in mainstream Hollywood.
All right, fine.
Let's do it really quick.
I mean, yes. Let's talk about empowering women. Yep.
Okay. What I want to bring up is basically a lot of people are always bringing up that this is like new. We've never seen movies where like women dominate. Like where the lead act. They present women in a strong light. And I'm like, bruh, have you not seen Terminator 1 and Terminator? Yeah, is it just Terminator 1? Sarah Connor was badass. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is basically to all those people who think that this is like, women are finally getting the credit they deserve, I'll just say this. It's just they're becoming more mainstream. And I think, and actually I'm in a full support of this. And I thought Captain Marvel was a great movie. And I'm super excited for The Last Avengers that is coming on next month. Yeah. So I just want to get into a little bit about what do you think. So I watched Captain Marvel, right? And you haven't watched it, and you're not going to watch it. But I'll just give you a bit of give you a bit of the flavor that was presented in the movie. So in the movie, they did a lot of like symbolistic scenes where it's like, like she was, it's about this woman who is Captain Marvel. Her human backstory is basically she always wanted to be a pilot and she always wanted to do boy stuff, but boys always would say no. So they always cut into scenes where men or young kids would tell them, or even her own dad would say, "You shouldn't be doing this. You're a little girl. You should be doing this." Like yada yada. You know what I'm talking about. And so they just put it in the film, and I just want you to basically comment on what do you think? How would this impact the new female generation?
I do not know. As not a female, I don't feel like I have the authority to speak on how it will impact other females.
At least try to fucking say like, oh, when I see a man doing this on like fucking TV, like I feel like I can do it too, right? Surely, okay. Basically, I think that it's good. I think it will, I don't like using the word empowering. I like to use the word encourage a lot of women to tap in to the powers and skills that they already have, and they're just that they haven't been allowed to use or haven't had the confidence to use. So I think these movies such as like Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, where they get to see roles of women in real powerful positions, or as the lead as well as the most important role of the film, it will give all these new young generation of women the confidence to believe in themselves to achieve whatever they can achieve. It basically allows all these women to achieve the full potential and their best selves. And that's why I think these movies are great. But I just want everyone to know that it's
that's great, Peter. It's great that you can speak on behalf of women to say how women should feel. Bravo.
No, I'm not trying to tell. No, don't do that. I'm sounding like Harry now. Don't do that. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is I'm an ally. Are you an ally, Justin?
I mean, I am, but I won't pretend to be able to I won't pretend to speak on behalf of women about how they should feel.
Me of pretending. I'm just trying to say that I watch these movies and I finally I'm realizing how important it is.
Okay.
Are you gonna retract that statement, accusing me of pretending?
I'm not accusing you of anything.
You accuse me of fucking pretending, you piece of shit.
I did not accuse you of pretending. Pretending to be what?
Pretending to speak on women's behalf. I'm not speaking on women's behalf. I'm just saying that I think these movies are great. So should I not have a voice on this? That's a very good topic actually. Should I not have a voice? Am I not allowed to think? Like for example, if I was like a boss of a company, if I was the owner of a company and I have a female staff, and should I not be able to think for female staff? Should I not be able to think that, oh no, I think she's
Should
about
you not be able to think for your female staff? I think you shouldn't be able to think for your female staff. No,
but I mean, think about like for example, she's about to obviously they have paternity leave. But what if I thought of maybe she looks unwell, maybe I should just give her extra days to spend with her kid. Is that wrong?
I mean that's your prerogative. If you can make a judgment about her health by her looks, then yeah. No, by asking her and talking to her and trying to understand the other sex, which I think is important. Because we are different yet we are the same, but there are still these differences and nuances that I think we both genders should try to understand
about each other. I'm not speaking that I know what's best for them, but I think it's important that I try to understand them. Do you disagree?
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
That's what I was trying to get at. Whew. Did I just
Okay.
dodge a bullet there or what? I fucking Neo Matrix that shit. But
I
anyways,
think you should listen back to this whole section.
okay. But anyways, let's move on.
Trevor, if you're listening to this, let me know what you think.
But anyways, let's move on to. Is it? Wait. Let's talk about the Mueller. The Mueller report was done about a week and a half ago, and yeah, they found nothing. They found that Trump had no links, and there were no evidence of corroboration with Trump and Russia. So what does that say? What does that say, Justin?
It was a big blow for Democrats. I think that it is a big blow for liberals and the left in general. I think that it is a big win for Donald Trump and his allies. I think that a lot of fallout that's happening now is around the release of the report. The report was 300 pages. What was actually released was a summary by the Attorney General Robert Barr, which was 4 pages. So what the left is calling for now is for a release of the full report, which was what was initially promised, but now has been not promised anymore.
Yeah.
I think that no matter how much the left try to spin it in terms of something is being hidden in this 300-page report that's not being revealed, which implicates Donald Trump or whatever, I think that that's sort of a bit of grasping at straws, to be honest. Because I think if there was a smoking gun, I think indictments would have occurred already. And they have. They've occurred on people around Trump, but not Trump himself.
Campaign team.
Yeah, so I think that if there was a real this shit is real serious, and it involves directly Donald Trump, something would have happened already.
Yeah.
So yeah, no matter how it's trying to be spun, around people are hiding, Democrats saying, the Republicans are hiding something in this report. It's 300 pages, yet we only saw a 4-page summary, blah, 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 blah. I think that, in all honesty, it's sort of dead. It's sort of dead in the water, in my eyes. It's not, the report. I think people should be happy, or not happy, but should accept the findings.
No, I agree. I think now I don't really have a take on who should win or whatever. I'm just commenting on it as it is. So I think if the Democrats are going to look at taking down Trump or taking down Trump in the next presidential election, they should be looking at promoting policies instead of going at the man. That's what I personally think, and we will cover the U.S. presidential election as it gets closer and more exciting. Anyways, but guys, everyone, check out Andrew Yang. He's our Asian rep who's going to run for the election this year.
Who's being supported very strongly by the far right.
Is he?
Yes.
I didn't know.
So are you saying that you're aligning yourself with the far right, Peter?
No, I didn't know that the far right was supporting. I'm just throwing out there that there's an Asian brother who's running for president, and I think that's
being supported very heavily by the far right.
I didn't know that. Know that. Do you know
says a lot about your subconscious.
Do you know he's in the top 6 favorites? I think he's the 6th favorite. But anyways, what?
Okay.
But anyways, I think let's leave it as that.
Favorite.
He's the 6th favorite. He's the 6th favorite.
Yep. Okay.
Candidate.
The 6th favorite. Yep. Okay.
The 6th. How would you say it? Actually, how do you say it?
If you're the 6th favorite, you're not really the favorite, man.
True, I know, but I'm just I thought You know, like I just think it's interesting, but I didn't know he's supported by the far right because like he his business in Silicon Valley and stuff like you just didn't expect it. But anyways, but what do you know why they supporting him?
There's a lot of conspiracy theories. I'm not sure myself.
But obviously you can kind of like gauge what you think is true or what's not true.
I don't know what is. I don't know what is true. I think the far right support him because he has. I think he has certain ideas about immigration. I think, but there's also this theory that the far right support him because they see him as a weak candidate that will lose against Donald Trump.
Oh, I've never immigration. I don't think there was. I think his immigration stance from the interview I watched him say was that he's a bit more open to it, but he wants the best. He wants like talented immigrants to come in. So,
I mean that is the same. I mean, so he doesn't want the rapists, the robbers, and the drug dealers from Mexico, right?
No, he didn't say anything about which country they will come from or which race they will come from. He just said he just wanted skilled immigration, which is the same like in Singapore.
So not the racists, the rapists, and the drug dealers from Mexico, right?
He didn't say that. He didn't even say I don't think he even said Mexico. If anything, he said that he wanted to make all the dreamers.
So you're saying that when other countries send their people here, they're not sending their best. So he wants them to send their best, right?
No, I don't think he wants countries to send their best. I think he just want to let people to be citizens or people to work in the country. They need to be skilled, of a certain skill. They need to carry certain skills to power the economy, my friend.
So okay. I mean, what? I don't think you're sort of getting what I'm saying, but all right, sure.
I know, I get what you're trying to do, but they are skilled Mexicans. But like, if you're talking about, does he want? I'm not saying from Mexico, but does he want like thieves, robbers, and stuff? I don't think he wants them from any country.
Yeah. So when other countries are sending their people, they're not sending their best.
Sending their people. I don't think Mexico are going to like have him. They're not sending them. It's just people want to go there.
I said, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Everything I said is a quote from Donald Trump.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Fuck Trump. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
For someone who allegedly follows these things, it doesn't seem you follow very closely. But anyway.
Yeah. Maybe it's just too much info. But yeah, I think Andrew Yang he has an interesting take. I don't think he'll win, but I just think he's an interesting candidate.
I see you're moving further and further to the right, Peter. Better, if I see that you've started any live stream, I'll be sure not to tune in.
Sure.
It's not a joke, man. It's not funny, man.
Okay. Anyways, I think Andrew Yang is a breath of fresh air. He's out there talking about policy all the time instead of targeting Trump. And yeah, I think everyone should go give him a listen. And I think I like to end the show. Can we end the show now before you start making new conspiracy theories about me for no reason?
You know that I never make conspiracy theories about you. I merely follow up on the words that you use. I never make anything up.
Of course you don't. Anyways,
I use your words and confirm with you what you say.
Okay. Anyways, if I said it, so let's just make it simple. Am I like evil? Am I like part of the far right? And so on.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyways, I'm here to tell you guys I am not.
All I know is that you support women in cinema.
I support human beings. Why do you have to? I'm just talking about movies, women movies being popular now, and I think it's great. And I like watching them. I think they're great. Yeah, you're the one out here. Oh, I'm not watching Captain Marvel. No.
I don't like superhero movies, man. Because let
Are
me
you-
guess what happens in the end. Let me guess what happens in the end. Captain Marvel wins, right?
Yeah, she actually beat him out really badly for some reason.
Surprise, surprise. The superhero wins.
Okay, fair enough. Are you gonna watch the last Avengers or no?
Avengers, maybe. Like
You watched Infinity Wars?
I did. But
You
that was
think that was-
okay.
I thought it was good. That was better than the first one. First
I mean,
Avengers.
look, actually, no. I'll bump it to. I thought it was good because I like the ending.
Because it was unconventional.
Yeah, because the superheroes didn't quote unquote win, right?
Yeah, true. And
But-
Thanos is an interesting character because what he said was kind of like, it's not like he's out there just wanting the world to burn. It was more of like, there's not enough resources in the world for everyone. So, I'm trying to save your world. So,
I mean, I don't know about the reasoning for that. I think the reasoning for that is it's a bit flimsy. I think, but I mean, regardless, whatever. It's a movie. It's a superhero movie. It doesn't have to necessarily be realistic, but yeah. No, I thought the Avengers not bad. I'll probably see the new one just because it's gonna be like one of the biggest movies of the year. But yeah, like I didn't see Thor. I didn't see Ant-Man. I didn't see the Incredible Hulk. I didn't see, Superman. I didn't see. I just don't really like superhero movies in general.
Would you watch the Batman reboot?
Probably not.
Damn. Okay. That was great. Anyways, I thought this was a good episode. Yeah, I think. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks, Justin. Tune in next week, guys. Bye.